In this lesson, you will learn how to introduce yourself in German. Please take a look at the videos and observe the conversations carefully.
Hallo,
Hallo, wie heißt du?
ich heiße Nito und du?
Ich heiße Digita. Wie alt bist du?
Ich bin 20 Jahre alt.
Schön, woher kommst du?
Komme aus Mumbai. Und du, wo wohnst du?
Ich wohne in Kochi, Kerala.
Schön. Was bist du von Beruf?
Ich bin Lehrerin von Beruf. Welche Sprachen sprichst du?
Ich spreche gut Deutsch, Englisch, Hindi und Tamilisch. Und was sind deine Hobbys?
Meine Hobbys sind Musik hören und Filme schauen.
Ah, cool.
Hallo, wie heißen Sie?
Ich heiße Nito George.
Und wie alt sind Sie?
Ich bin 20 Jahre alt.
Woher kommen Sie?
Ich komme eigentlich aus Mumbai.
Okay. Und wo wohnen Sie?
Im Moment wohne ich in Cochin, Kerala.
Okay. Was sind Sie von Beruf?
Ich bin Lehrerin.
Ah, schön. Und welche Sprachen sprechen Sie?
Ich spreche gut Deutsch, Englisch, Hindi und Tamilisch.
Schön. Was sind Ihre Hobbys?
Filme schauen und Musik hören.
Now, what did you notice while watching these videos? One was a formal conversation, while the other one was an informal conversation. And if you watch closely, you will see that there are certain words that are used differently depending on the context of the conversation. A key difference is the usage of the word you. So in German, there are two forms of you. The respectful form, which is Sie, and the informal form, which is du. Now, this is not very common in the English language, but there are different other languages, including a few Indian languages like Hindi, that use the same structure. For instance, in Hindi, we say respectfully aap, or informally that becomes tu. In German, the respectful form Sie is used to address people who are older, people who hold a position of authority, or anybody you want to address respectfully. For instance, your professor, your boss, or your friend's mom. In German, the conjugation of a verb depends upon whether the subject is in the informal form you or if it is in the formal form of you. For example, let's take a look at the question, what is your name? Now in German, you can ask this question in two different ways. Either the informal way, which would be wie heißt du, or the formal way, which would be wie heißen Sie. Now the literal translation of this question would be, what are you called? Because the verb heißen translates into to be called. Now if you look at this question, you can see that depending on whether we use Sie or if we use du, the question looks a little different. Now, there are three different ways to answer this question. Let's take a look at them one by one. The first way would be by saying, mein Name ist Nitu, which means my name is Nitu. The second way of answering this question would be, ich heiße Nitu, which means I am called Nitu. And the third way of answering the question will be, ich bin Nitu, which translates into I am Nitu. So the three ways of answering a question like that is, mein Name ist Nitu, ich heiße Nitu, or ich bin Nitu. Now let's take a look at how one can speak about their age in German. So I would be saying, ich bin 27 Jahre alt, which means I am 27 years old. Now, as we go ahead in the chapters and we learn the numbers, we can change the 27 to whatever fits you. Now, how would you ask somebody else how old they are? You can either ask, wie alt bist du, which is an informal way, or you can ask, wie alt sind Sie, which is the respectful way. Now, how do we talk about native place or where you're coming from? So I would say, ich komme aus Mumbai, which translates to I come from Mumbai. Now, if you're in Germany and somebody is asking you where you're from, the most appropriate answer to give would be Ich komme aus Indien, which means I come from India. Now, how would you ask someone where they come from? Again, you can either ask Woher kommst du, which is the informal way, or Woher kommen Sie, which is the formal way. Now, let's take a look at the question, where do you live? This question again can be asked in two different ways, the formal and the informal. The informal would be Wo wohnst du? And the formal way would be Wo wohnen Sie? And in my case, the answer would be Ich wohne in Kakanad. Now let's talk about professions in German, shall we? So one could say, Ich bin Informatik-Ingenieur von Beruf, which would translate to I am an IT engineer by profession. Now in German, the professions have different versions according to whether it is male or female. So in my case, the sentence would be Ich bin Informatik-Ingenieurin von Beruf. Here is a list of most common professions in both the masculine and feminine form. Use this list to try speaking out your profession loudly. You can use the speaker button in Google Translate to figure out the right pronunciation.
Krankenschwester, Krankenpfleger,
Now you could ask someone, Was sind Sie vom Beruf? Or Was bist du vom Beruf? To ask somebody about their profession. Now if you want to know what languages somebody speaks, the question would be, Welche Sprachen sprichst du? Or the formal way, Welche Sprachen sprechen Sie? Now the answer to this question would be, Ich spreche English, Malayalam, Tamilish und Hindi, which translates to I speak English, Malayalam, Tamil and Hindi. Now if I want to ask somebody about their hobbies, the question would be, Was sind deine Hobbys? Or Was sind Ihre Hobbys, which is the formal way. Now, if I want to ask about a particular hobby, the question would be, Was ist dein Hobby? Or Was ist Ihr Hobby? If you ask me the question, my reply would be, Meine Hobbys sind Filme schauen und Fußball spielen. My hobbies are watching movies and playing football. Here is a list of most popular hobbies. Refer to the list and try speaking out your hobbies loudly.